not like Buck Martinez needs an introduction, but I'm going to say it anyway. Former Kansas City Royal, Milwaukee Brewer, Toronto Blue Jay for 6 seasons, retired as a Blue Jay in '86, was the skipper of Canada's team in the early 2000s, and of course a broadcaster for a long, long time. And he joins us today from the Sunshine State. It's a true honor. First time I've had a chance to visit with him. How you doing, Buck?
I'm doing great, Brad. How are you? Thanks for having me today.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure. Obviously, your voice is the soundtrack of a lot of our lives up here. And, Buck, I'm going to jump right into the deep end here with this Blue Jays season that went down to the final day. I'm sure you never get tired of talking about it. I've been pretty hard on them that they squandered a lot of opportunities with this great young team. How are you on the Jays season? The fact that they didn't even get a wild card berth with this amount of talent and the records that they set.
Well, I think it was an exceptional season given the challenges they were presented by moving 3 times, playing in 2 minor league ballparks. I think Charlie did a heck of a job with his team, keeping everybody focused on the field. I can't fathom how many other teams would have handled it as well as the Blue Jays. And, yeah, there was a lot of talent on this team, but there's a lot of these guys that are playing for the first time in a full season. And I think to win as many games as they did and go down to the final day, they had opportunities in August. They kind of got off to a little bit of a slow start that month, and they couldn't win any games. They were slumping a bit as a team, and then they really turned things on again in September. But I think for a team that's the youngest team in baseball, that they should be very proud of their season, as much as it was a disappointment on that final Sunday. When they look back now, a couple of weeks after the World Series, I think they'll be very pleased with their season.
So, Buck, what do you see ahead for the team? Like if they lose Robbie Ray and if they lose Marcus Semien, those are pretty big holes there. Are they going in the right direction? How wide is the window open here for Blue Jays' success in the next 3 to 5 years?
Yeah, it's fairly wide open when you think of Bo and Vladdy. They're the core of this team, and they're 22 and 23 respectively. So, they're going to be around for a while. And Nate Pedersen looks like he might have finally figured things out toward the end of the season, so he could be plugged in. Alek Manoah's 23. You got Barrios for another year. If I were the Blue Jays, of course, my number one concern is bringing Marcus Semien back. He's the guy I want back because he's an everyday player and a terrific teammate, great citizen, and had a phenomenal year. I'd like to have him back first and foremost. Secondly, I might sign Steven Matz before I really make a big push to bring Robbie Ray back. I want Robbie Ray back. There's no question about it. But Matz might be an easier sign, and he might be a little bit more reliable. Robbie Ray's a full effort, 100% max effort guy, and he's a 2-pitch pitcher that had a phenomenal season. I think he's going to win the Cy Young. But I would focus first and foremost on signing Semien as an everyday player and bringing Steven Matz back to complement the starting rotation, and then really try and push hard to bring Robbie Ray back.
Buck, as a career broadcaster, I'm dying to ask you this question. The trained ear, I don't think, would notice that you were at home for the season. How difficult was it, A? And B, I should tell you, with Sportsnet's decision to carry the TV broadcasts on radio, you were heard all through Western Canada this year. And so they really couldn't tell what was going on. So you couldn't tell unless you knew, but it was pretty big news that Buck was at home in Florida all year. What was that like?
Yeah. And most of the time, Pat was in Cincinnati as well when we were doing the games. It was challenging, Rob. There's no question about it. My strength as a broadcaster, in my mind, is being on the field before the game, talking to the players, the coaches, and the managers to get all the information possible to bring it to the fans on that night. But couldn't do that this year. Obviously, once they left Dunedin, we didn't have any contact at all with the team or the coaches or managers other than the Zoom calls that were kind of a daily process. But towards the end of the season, I think everybody was getting tired of the Zoom calls. I think the players and the coaches were, and I think the media was kind of tired of it as well. So, it's challenging, no question about it. But I think I had a lot of people ask me, are you in Toronto? Because I think it was fairly seamless working with Dan and Pat. I think we worked together for so long that we kind of knew exactly the direction that each of us was going, and I think it was a pretty seamless broadcast.
Absolutely it was, and I heard those games now over the radio for the first time ever, and I'll be honest, not just because you're on the show, but hearing your voice echoing across Western Canada was like it just felt so good. To the teams that are in the playoffs, Boston taking out Tampa Bay. Did you see this coming in the fashion that it has?
No. I didn't. I have to be honest with you. And we know Kike Hernandez has had a lot of success in the postseason. He did with the Dodgers, and again, he came up big with the Red Sox. He's got 10 hits in the postseason, more than anyone else. But I thought Tampa Bay would figure out a way to win it, and they had two great games at the end. They came back and pushed the Red Sox in Game 3 and came back and pushed them again in Game 4. But in the final analysis, Boston, playing at home in Fenway, that's a special place, and I think that really energized their team and allowed them to advance, and now they'll meet the winner of Houston and Chicago. So it's a pretty good team. They overcame a lot, too. You remember, Ron, they had a lot of problems with COVID late in the season, and they had to dig down deep into the minor league system and brought in some free agents. So they deserve a lot of credit for getting through all of that and advancing now to the next round.
Is Kevin Cash getting unfairly criticized, dare I say ripped, for his handling of his pitchers in these last two postseasons?
Yeah, it's unfortunate. You know, I had Kevin as a player when I managed the Blue Jays, and he was with us in the organization. But I'm really down on the move he made last night when Colin McHugh is just sailing through the lineup. 18 pitches, he takes him out of the game. I mean, I think you've got to trust your eyes at some point. And he was criticized for the Blake Snell move last year in the World Series at a time when the Dodgers weren't even coming close to Snell. I think the same was true last night with Colin McHugh. I think that you got to believe your eyes. And when he's setting down those guys as easily as he was, why make a change? He'd only thrown 18 pitches, and I know he's a reliever. But at the same time, you've got to rely on the adrenaline of the moment, the fact that he was really dealing and shutting down the Red Sox in their home ballpark. And I think it's unfortunate they went to Shane McClanahan, and he gave up all those 5 runs. And that was really the difference in the game, that early move by Kevin Cash.
My West Coast friends say this Dodgers-Giants series is going to be a war. Obviously, they hate each other, tremendous rivals. How do you feel about the way that series has gone with the Giants up 2-1?
Well, Ron, I grew up a Giant fan. I saw my first game in 1958 at Seal Stadium, and Willie Mays was playing in center, so they've always been my favorite team. And there is a definite border between L.A. and San Francisco as far as sports. It goes true with the Warriors and Lakers. It's true with the 49ers and the Rams of the past. And it's certainly true with the Dodgers and Giants. And this is a terrific matchup. And we've seen some great games. 1-0 last night. Scherzer gives up the home run to Longoria. And the Giants made several good defensive plays to keep it that scoreless game. But I think it's going to be another exciting game. Anthony DeSclafani goes against the Dodgers tonight, and they've hit him hard all season long, so it's going to be interesting to see how they fare in this game. They could be going to the next step themselves, and nobody predicted that the Giants would have the season they put together.
107 wins, absolutely. You obviously know Tim Leeper. We had him on last week. I said, I'm pulling for the Giants because of you, Tim, now that he's working in their organization. A wonderful triple-header today in Major League Baseball playoffs. And, Buck, will you have a role? You're usually at the microphone for the big games here in October. What's your sked here for the playoffs?
No, I won't be doing any of the games this year. I'm just going to be doing some work with Jamie Campbell in the pregame show, and we'll be on from time to time on MLB Central with Jamie and Joe Siddle. But no, I won't be doing any of the games like I've done in the past.
Well, enjoy it. I know you will. Buck, clearly big fans here. Thanks for the time and waiting a long time to do this. So enjoy the offseason. Thank
you very much. My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Sportsnet and Blue Jays great Buck Martinez joining us from the Sunshine State. Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching the RP Show on YouTube. And don't forget, we're live daily on YouTube from noon to 2 Eastern. If you like what you see, hit subscribe. And if you like the program, check around for other segments of The Rod Pedersen Show here on YouTube.